Hi everyone, my name is Jordan Muir. I'm the creator of Frame, and I wanted to give a preview of Frame and walk through how it works. So first, what is Frame? Frame is a cross-platform Ethereum provider that lets you use standalone signers such as your Ledger or Trezor to securely and transparently interact with dApps in the Ethereum network. So how does it work? And I'll try to demo this as I go through it. So first, Frame monitors signer availability. Currently supported are Ledger and Trezor hardware signers, but in the future, any secure hardware or software signer can be supported. So I have a Ledger Nano S here and a Trezor, and I will attach them now. So first the Trezor. And you can see it becomes listed as an available signer, but it tells me that I need to enter the PIN before I can use it, so I'll do that. And then I also have the Nano S here, so I will input the PIN there. And you can see it also gets added as an available signer. It's telling me to select the Ethereum application. But once I do, both are now ready to use. So as a user, I can decide which I want to use to interact with the network, be it the Trezor or the Nano S. And for this presentation, I'll use the Nano S. So after this, Frame will connect to either a local or remote Ethereum node based on the selected account's preferences. So each signer has a settings menu, and in that menu you can set your preference for which Ethereum node to connect to. This signer is set to connect to Rinkeby via Infura. After that, Frame creates a local WebSocket provider interface that any dApp, be it a web, native, command line dApp, they can all connect and use this WebSocket provider interface. And then after that, Frame will route the dApp payloads to the user and their selected signer or selected node. So some key features of Frame are first-class hardware support. Hardware support is a top priority. This allows you to use your Ledger or Trezor with any dApp. Permissions, the user has full control over which dApps have permission to access their provider, and they can monitor what request dApps are making to their provider. Node management, Frame will provide users with a simple way to run full node or light client and is able to seamlessly switch between local and remote nodes. Menu bar support, so for the most part, Frame will sit quietly up here out of the way and bother you as little as possible and only notify you if there's something that you need to respond to. And it's cross-platform, so Mac OS, Windows, and Linux. So the slides I'm using for the presentation today are actually a dApp themselves, and it's telling me that it is looking for the Frame provider, and I cannot continue until it connects. So to the right here, we see a provider request from localhost 1234 saying localhost 1234 wants to connect. Localhost 1234 are my slides over here to the left, so I will approve this request. And you can see on the left that the slides have connected to the Frame provider, and everything is good. So just to talk about permissions a little bit more, until a dApp is given permission to connect by the user, it will not be able to, and it will not be able to see any information about your account. And permissions are granted on a dApp by dApp basis and can be revoked at any time by the user. So I will demo revoking permission to connect for this dApp, and you can see the dApp disconnects and is looking for the Frame provider but cannot connect to it, and it is only able to connect to it if we grant permission again. So after that, this is just some account info that we've fetched from the Frame provider. It shows our balance and our address and any recent transactions. So let's send a test transaction so I can show you how you can sign transactions with Frame. So over here on the right, you'll see a transaction request. It has the value, the fee, any data included, and where it's being sent to. And we can either sign or decline this transaction. We will sign this transaction. And since we're using a Nano S, it is actually sent to the device for the signing. So I will confirm that on the device, and you can see the transaction was successful. And right here, we can see the confirmations and transaction hash for that transaction. And if I click it, you can see it is a real Rinkeby transaction. Let's send one more transaction, and this time we will decline it, and you can see that also reflected back in the DApp. So instructions to run Frame. Running Frame is pretty easy, but currently you still need to run it from source. So you clone the repository, and then you can run npm run build to build Frame for your platform, and then npm run alpha will run the alpha version of Frame for you to use. So what's next? What's next for Frame? Pre-built apps. So pre-built app versions will be available for each platform very soon. Along with that release will be a browser extension to inject Frame's provider into any web dApp. So if that dApp does not try to connect to Frame on its own, you can force it to use a connection to Frame as its provider with this browser extension. Local node management, so adding more options for users to run their own full node or light client rather than using a remote connection. Payload recognition, this is a top priority for Frame. So developing UI patterns around different kinds of payloads and helping users really understand what they're signing and what the effects of signing different payloads is likely to have. And Aragon Nest. So Frame was recently awarded a grant by the Aragon Foundation through their Aragon Nest program. And Frame is part of the first class in that program. So, and they've been great to work with, and I'm very much looking forward to working with them more in the future. And that's it. I encourage you to check out Frame, github.com/floating/frame. I am a one-person team, so any feedback is very, very welcome. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.